So we're in the Capcom booth here at E3, and we caught up with the Japanese producer on the project, and I guess your main responsibility would be to keep it Japanese.
Yes, indeed. I think one thing that Capcom excels at and is really well known for is this certain style of very responsive control, and it's something that can be very hard to mimic if you don't have 20, 30 years of doing it this way. So, it's been our pleasure to work very closely with Ninja Theory to ensure that we maintain some level of Japanese DNA, so to speak, while also injecting a lot of fresh ideas into the franchise.
So if you would compare working on this game with the previous Devil May Cry games, how is it different? Other than just it's a different developer, of course.
It's been a real learning experience, I think, for both sides, for Ninja Theory and for Capcom. Basically, just the way, almost every aspect of the way things are done in game development differs quite a bit from Japan to the West. Everything from the way teams are structured to the way technology is developed and utilized. All these things are quite different from another. In Ninja's case, one of the reasons they were chosen is they pay a lot of attention, particularly to presentation and the way things look and the way things feel overall from an artistic point of view. These are the kind of things that would be really hard for us to replicate in our style of development. So, we were really lucky to find a partner that we can work with in this capacity.
I think one of the things, because I'm not the best Devil May Cry player in the world, but I've seen some guys playing it, and it just looks like some sort of ballet going on. And I think that's sort of the level of that people want from a Devil May Cry game. That feeling that when you really chain things together, it just looks like magic. Is that something that you wanted to bring to this game as well?
Yes, absolutely. You raise a good point in that the Devil May Cry games until now have always been almost less about completing the game and competing with the game itself, more about competing with your own self as the player and trying to better yourself and get better at the game and do more and more increasingly cool things as you play. So it's a terribly important part of the Devil May Cry series, and this time around we've not only attempted to replicate that sort of gameplay, but we've expanded upon it by adding things like the real-time switching between your Devil and Angel powers, adding a much more focus on air combat and air combos, this sort of thing. So it's very much about the things it's been about until now, and we hope, if we've done our job right, that we've actually built upon that and added even more depth.
Would you say that these new things, like changing weapons on the fly and the angelic and demonic, that sort of open up more freedom to the player, or what's the philosophy being behind that?
Yes, absolutely. It is about giving the player more freedom, and it's also about the idea that when you're in the midst of a really high action game like this, where there's so many things going on, and you get a real frenetic pace going, the last thing we want to do is have to pause the game, go into a menu, change a weapon or something like that. So right from the start we knew we didn't want this to be the sort of game where you spent a lot of time fiddling with menus. We wanted to make as much stuff real time as possible to not only increase your freedom, but to keep the tempo and the pace of the game up and really intense, and we think we've succeeded.
This is not the first game that Capcom has sort of used a Western developer to sort of bring new life to an established franchise and things like that. Have you sort of changed any way of how you work with those developers based on previous experiences for this one?
I myself have been lucky enough to have been involved in a few of these projects where we've worked with Western companies, and I've made a lot of sort of mental notes as I went along in these projects. And one thing I determined is that communication really is key. The more face time we can have in person with Ninja Theory, the more I can communicate well with Capcom USA, the better the project's going to be. So communication has definitely been a key focus this time around, and I think that's where you're going to see this game really shine. We've really put our all into this, all three parties involved, and I think it'll show through when you actually play the game.
I asked Alex this question as well. The reaction to the new Dante was quite strong from fans. What do you feel about that, and how do you feel about the vision of Dante that Ninja Theory are presenting?
Yeah, anytime you take a really iconic character and you implement any kind of change, you're bound to upset some people. We knew that going in, but at the same time, we felt really strongly, and Ninja felt really strongly that if we were going to do this, we should do something really different and make it really worthwhile, and come up with a new Dante that still contains the essence of the character, but is very new and different. And I'm hoping that the more the traditional Dante fans see of this game, and when they finally get to play it, they're going to realize that while it is a different Dante, this one is every bit as cool, just in a different way. So the key is really going to be getting people to understand that and communicating that to them.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.